It's a dynamite drop, baby. You know the names. It's Ashley and Sean. The verbal bang bang gang. Guns up. All elite takes. No filler hitting you. Harder than a blade runner. You want heat, they deliver every week. It's a thriller. It's a dynamite drop. Powered by the hub, and that's undisputed.
Well, you know what that music means. It must be Friday, and you're here on the Dynamite Drop, presented to you by The Hub, the Sports Entertainment Network. Ashley, we are a part of a kick-ass professional wrestling podcast network. The first show being Draw Straw Raw. It's Eric B., Randy C., and they did the Lord's Alert on Monday because they had to cover the Monday Night Raw after Wrestle Freaking Mania. Lucky for us, we didn't have to do it. We just had to listen. Great show, guys. Last night, we had Huge Pop with Donnie Da Silva, Jimmy Cortez, and our special guest this week was no other than Paul London. If you haven't catched that interview yet, kick back into the network just a little bit, check that episode out. And, of course, tomorrow, Saturday, Brad and Dad, Father Gray Falcon, they will be covering the SmackDown after WrestleMania, and they had a whole week to recover from WrestleMania, so they better be ready to go.
I think they might have needed all that time to recover.
Fair point. We had a very light week. We're here. We're covering Dynamite, and we're going to do a little preview of Collision. So, hey, score one for the good guys.
Right.
Actually, this was an interesting episode of Dynamite we're kicking off with, because I swear I was transported back to 1999 WCW because I saw Tony Schiavone in my ring, and he's introducing Master P, but we don't have the No Limit Soldiers.
Kind of a cool little cameo here to start. AEW is no stranger to having these types of cameos here in the ring.
Very fair point. We see the ops that are out here celebrating their trios win, and like Samoa Joe says, what better city to celebrate than New Orleans? And fair point, Mr. Joe, you are correct.
Not one to argue with Samoa Joe for any reason.
Hey, whatever Samoa Joe wants you to do, you better do it, because that dude looks angry all the freaking time.
Yeah, even like I said, even making him do make him say, he sounded like angry doing it.
Hey, here on the Dynamite Drop, we practice safety first. We always agree with Mr. Samoa Joe.
Absolutely.
Now, the people who didn't recognize this diehard fact was the Death Riders, because the Death Riders come down to try to rain on the parade. And they do for about 20 seconds or so, until John Moxley decides he wants to have a piece of Master P. He turns around, and boy, he got choked out again by Samoa Joe.
Yeah, he sure did. You do not take your eyes off Samoa Joe for any reason. Dangerous mistake by Mox. Gets choked out, along with Master P trying to take some shots in on him. But not the best night for the Death Riders.
No, they sure did not have a great night. And I think we're seeing the formation of Team AEW, because the EVPs try to come out and help the Death Riders, even though the Death Riders are going like, we really don't want to have anything to do with you. But next thing you know, here's first one with a chain, and it's Kenny, oh my God, Omega coming down the ramp.
With
and
a chair. Yeah.
Chair. Finally, we have Team AEW finally decide that it's time to fight back, I guess.
Well, it is about time somebody put the Death Riders in their place, and when you got guys on the other side like Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs, Shibata, Kenny Omega, and Swerve Strickland, that's a very scary team right there.
It is, and I just love the fact that Team AEW decided over the course of the last 5 months, we need to upgrade our offense, because you remember when this first started back in the day, it was basically the mid-card of AEW versus the Death Riders, and they were getting thrown around like putties and Power Rangers.
Well, Darby is pretty much a crash test dummy, so it makes sense.
Well, the first match on this episode of Dynamite was Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet. And I gotta say, Ricochet had a chance to win this match, but he was upset by Mark Briscoe as Mark Briscoe countered into a victory row 1, 2, 3. And we saw the return of the scissors as Ricochet is going to go get a pound of flesh for this loss. But, oh, hey, it's Kevin Knight for the save, buddy. Kevin Knight, AEW's new star.
Yeah, no, the Battle of the Bald here. Ricochet is so great. Like, this character it just gets better every week. He's so funny. Obviously, Mark Briscoe is great. Getting kind of Kevin Knight in another big spot, like, you can see how much featured him already, how much I think they want to push him. I like this because he's been just outstanding.
I gotta say, one thing about this is the fact that Ricochet, in the middle of this match, the crowd are chanting, "You are bald." He slides out of the ring, hugs a guy who's bald, and he's going like, they're chanting against us.
So good. This, like I said, this character is so funny. I need him to stay like this for quite a while because he's pulling it off great. I feel like we can do a lot with him as this.
You know, if Adam Cole wasn't the TNT champion, I'd be like, it would be kind of entertaining to see Ricochet with the TNT title.
Oh, it absolutely would. If we can keep him in this character long enough, like we could build the arc to it.
Very true. Now, we did see a new formation of a interesting trio as FTR comes out to the ring, and it's Stokely Hathaway as her manager. Sign me up. I mean, this is gonna be great. I mean, like it's like Bobby Heenan with like Demolition or whatever you want to put together for that combination. Oh, you know what? I'll do one better for you. It's like Jim Cornette in the Midnight Express.
Just Stokely Hathaway back on my TV, first of all. Yes. Missed him so much. Glad he's back. And what a weird combination that I never would have thought to put together. We haven't seen Stokely Hathaway since he was pretty much done away with by Chris Statlander and kind of written off there. But FTR played into it, and I thought they did great during this segment. They are very good, smarmy heels that you want to punch in the face.
Well, later on in the segment, I did want to jump from my TV and punch him in the face for a segment. We'll get to that point. But first, Stokely Hathaway makes a great defensive lawyer because he lays out the case for why the hell was FTR suspended and fined for 2 minor violations when you have an arson and like Heyman Adam Page running around. You have John Moxley, this reigning terror over AEW for the last 6 months, and they're still doing things and they don't get suspended. So why did FTR get suspended? He had me on their side.
Well, aside from Hangman, because we know Hangman has never done anything wrong, they do have a point. Kind of on brand, but Stokely Hathaway, I'm very excited for this. Dax Harwood playing into this too. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what happens when somebody like Coke comes back to see where they are with this character. Because with what they did, I want to see somebody take them out sooner rather than later.
Well, what they did, my friend, was they called the Rock and Roll Express down to the ring because they're in New Orleans, a hotbed for the R&R Rock and Roll Express back in the day. And they get in the ring, and of course, Dax being a heel, he starts being nice to them and cutting them off every time they were going to try to speak until Ricky Morton decides F you to Mr. Dash and takes the freaking mic to set the record straight. This is when Stokely Hathaway debuts the new FTR t-shirt, and it's a Living Legend Killers. And oh, by the way, Ricky, you're going to love this. And we see FTR beat down the Rock and Roll Express. And if this was 1970s New Orleans, that ring would have been rushed by about 100 fans.
Honestly, like, we love you, Rock and Roll Express, but don't go in the ring when asked by FTR. When you see them in this kind of mood, ask Tony Schiavone. Don't get in the ring with them. I want so badly to see them possibly do a tag match. I love the Rock and Roll Express, and they can still go.
You know, I got a funny feeling that FTR and the Rock and Roll Express did a match somewhere. We need to go on YouTube. So anybody who can find this match on YouTube, just send it over to at a Dynamite Drop on Twitter to let me know that this match exists, because I got a funny feeling it does.
I have a feeling it's probably happened somewhere along the line.
Well, a match that happened on this episode of Dynamite was a kick-ass tag team match as the EVPs finally decide, hey, we'll have a match, the first one since October, and it's going to be versus Speedball Mike Bailey and the new hot star Kevin Knight. And we saw Ricochet play a minor little bit of help here to help the EVPs score a victory.
Yeah, and they needed that help because Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight pretty much had this match in the bag. And both of those guys just continue to look great every week. Speedball Mike Bailey is insane. They did that really cool spot where they both looked like they were going to jump off the ropes and possibly splash onto, I think it was Nick in the ring. But Mike Bailey pivots and does a moonsault to the backside and takes out Matt on the outside. I loved this. I don't know where we're going to put them in. I don't think we keep them as a tag team, but I do like the idea of these guys kind of having each other's backs.
Well, after this match versus the EVPs, I'm going like, I kind of want to see this tag team stick together. They're a fun babyface tag team. And they should be going after the tag team titles, I guess. We'll see
we do.
later
Yeah.
on. Now, one thing we did see on this episode was Father of the Year Christian Cage backstage with the patriarchy, and there's a little more tension between the favorite son and the father, as Christian Cage basically told him, I was right. You see, when you do what I say, you shut up, open those ears up, and listen to me, you win titles. And the prodigy's son turns around and goes like, well, when you stick to the plan, things work.
And he's not wrong. He's already called Christian for kind of going rogue on the plan with the cash in there on his contract. I do like the thought of possibly having something like Christian Cage running around with the Ring of Honor World Television Championship while Nick Wayne is in Japan at the Best of the Super Juniors, kind of while Nick can't do anything about it because he's already very clearly set his eyes on that.
Well, I love the throwback to the fact that Christian Cage, for the year, decided to take the title right off the shoulders of the son and relive his TNT title run that he was the TNT champion for, even though, if I remember right, a certain Luchasaurus was really the champion, but Father of the Year just said, no, that's my title.
Yeah, very true. That's why I said, I would love it because Nick Wayne, we've already seen kind of turning the tide on his, how he sees Christian. Now he's going to be having all of this time where presumably I don't think Christian Cage is going to Japan with Nick Wayne. I think Nick Wayne is going on his own. So to have them be separated where Nick Wayne maybe is kind of away from Christian's influence for a few weeks to see how he comes back, and maybe Christian parading around with the title might be enough to set him off once he returns.
Well, if that's not enough to set him up, I think maybe whatever the celebration was between his mom and Christian Cage might be the other thing to do it. I don't know. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Oh my God, Christian being like, yeah, listen to me, and I slept with your mom is just a crazy promo to run. But hey,
It's why he's Father of the Year. This is why we like him, because he's just so freaking douchey.
oh my God, he's so funny.
Another backstage segment we saw on Dynamite was our favorite champion, the AEW Women's World Champion, Thomas Toni Storm, announcing to the fandom that she will have a open challenge eliminator match on Collision this weekend. And who would want to have this match? And fortunately for us, is our Queen Aminata comes into the scene and says, yes, please.
Yeah, and absolutely, yes, please, because I do nothing but gush about Toni Storm all the time. She's fantastic, and to see Queen Aminata come back and be put in this spot, yes, absolutely. We've done wonders with this women's division over the past few months. Let's get her up here now with Jamie and Athena and Mercedes, and let's get her into some of these big matches as well.
Very, very true. We are very high on Queen Aminata on this podcast. We are basically driving the bandwagon since day freaking one. Now, next up, my favorite segment of the night, as we see the Hurt Syndicate come down to the ring, and we know what this means. We're just counting down the moments until we see Mr. MJF arrive with his newest attempt to win the day. Well, this time he didn't bring no ladies. He didn't bring a watch. He brought one hell of a car.
Yeah, I don't know much about cars, but it looked expensive, I'll say that.
It was nice. I mean, he drives it down. He comes down to the ring, and he's like, guys, look, I need 3 thumbs up. I know I got 2. Bob, if you give me a thumbs up, the car is yours. And Bobby Lashley goes like, let's go look at this car. I'm kind of interested. So they walk to the back, and Bobby Lashley slides into the driver's seats, takes the keys from MJF. Shelton Benjamin gets in the passenger seat. They buckle up for safety, and they start to drive away. And MJF is looking like, Bob, I need that thumbs up. And before he gets it into gear, Bobby Lashley has his hand out to the side, halfway. He turns it down and drives off.
And I'm just assuming he kept that car, and that MJF is not going to ever see it again because I don't think he's going to beat up Bobby Lashley for the keys back.
Okay, we already said safety first is the main goal of this podcast. New safety rule for everybody. When Bobby Lashley wants your car, hand the keys over and take local form of public transportation should be rule number 2 on the show.
Yep, it's time to take the Shoelace Express at that point.
Okay, we had a interesting tag team match coming up here. It's Brody King, Will Ospreay as a tag team versus the Don Callis family. And the Don Callis family in this setting is Josh Alexander and Tatesha. This match, bang.
Yeah, very good match. Will Ospreay and Brody King one more time, please. Like, that's a great pairing, and I want to see it at least once more. I will say I'm very sad about Brody King taking another pin here.
I know it does seem like Brody King, since the delusion of the House of Black, is basically become the big scary monster who is set up to help advance people down the road. And we here on the Dynamite Drop wanted to say, Mr. Khan, make this stop now. Push Brody King.
Right, he needs a title at some point. We need him in some serious title contention.
I mean, I granted that we have Samoa Joe versus Moxley next May 14th, but we can use another title match before we get to Double or Nothing. Why not Brody freaking King? Please and thank you.
Absolutely.
So the Don Callis family wins this match. As you said, our guy takes the pinfall. So we do see the pro start, Kyle Fletcher, come down to the ring, and Hangman Page tries to make the save, but the Don Callis family keeps growing day by day because Raponi Vice comes behind Hangman Page and lays out Hangman Page.
Yeah, pro tip, Hangman. You can't wait till he's in the ring and assembled with 5 other guys before you're running there trying to make the save. You gotta try to catch him before he makes it to the ring. Yeah, it kind of runs right into a beatdown here. Very outnumbered by the Don Callis family, which is just one of the most overpowered factions I have ever seen put together.
They are. Okay, let's just take stock of this for a second. They have Kyle Fletcher. They have Mark Davis. They have Brian Cage when he's healthy. They have Lance Archer. They have Trent.
Tanoki Takeshita.
They have Tokoji Kakesha. They have, who am I missing out of this group? It's
Josh
just
Alexander.
Josh Alexander. I'm like, this Rolodex that Don Callis has is endless.
It's great. It's Rocky Romero now is like kind of like I guess officially a part of it. They even mentioned it on New Japan, on Road to Dontaku. I assume we're even putting Rocky Romero and Don Callis, the brain trust. That's terrifying. That should terrify people.
And the sad thing is, they're the B heel faction in AEW right now because basically we're getting the Elite Death Riders as the A level heel faction. I'm like, can we not just have one heel faction? That heel faction should be the Don Callis family, and everybody else will be fighting to save AEW from the Don Callis family.
Everyone, I don't know if we would need a lot of people to help save us from this faction right now.
Okay, so we're up to the main event of Dynamite, and it's the semifinal for the women's Owen Hart tournament as we have Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statler in a dang good match. And I gotta say, one hell of a clothesline to win the match for Jamie Hayter as we're going to All In Texas. We're getting Mone versus Jamie freaking Hayter. Sign us up. Take us money now, Mr. Khan. Thank you.
Yeah, and I like these like variations she's had of the the kind of like twisting clothesline that she does. Like she did one a few weeks ago off the rope. She did one out of the corner, but a hellacious haterade. No shame on Statlander for losing this one, and very excited for Hayter versus Monet, which should be just fantastic.
I do believe it's going to be a dang good match. It may be a question later on in this episode as we give you the final countdown. But before we get to the final countdown, we need a preview some AEW Collision come up this weekend for you. So allow me to do this for you. As coming up on Collision this weekend. Now remember, guys, it's after the NBA playoffs, so we don't know exactly when this is going to start. So it could be 10:30, 11:15, 12 p.m. So hit that DVR, my friends. This is a DVR episode of Collision coming up for you. And the first thing we know about is the Matt Caster Open Challenge is back. The best thing about Collision is back on TV.
That should be interesting too, because now we've kind of seen the Pinnacle with Bowens coming back to answer it. So now who does it?
The whole Don Callis family.
Oh
the
my!
whole friggin' Don Callis family.
Rest in peace, Max.
Hey, if that happens, he's going out with a bang, buddy. He's going out with a bang. We will see Anna Jay in action. The first time we've seen Anna Jay in a while on AEW Collision. It's going to be interesting to see who she pairs up with. We do not know at the time of recording, but we are going to get AR Fox versus Roosh. Ashley, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this match?
I'm just excited to see Roosh in singles action, but I'm also excited to see AR Fox kind of, again, be consistently on our TV screens.
Exactly, because we have been championing AR Foss here on this podcast for over 4 or 5 months, as this gentleman has been a file tool player, the guy who shows up when they need somebody to have a dang good match with anybody on the roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And just he did a Hey W interview. He kind of give him a little bit. We don't see many promos from AR Fox on TV or anything, so it's nice to kind of see him kind of have that forum to talk a bit.
We have a very interesting match coming up on Collision, as we have the Ring of Honor World Title match. It's Bambino versus Risico. Ashley, once again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
Well, I'm very excited for this one. Bandito has been consistently appearing on Ring of Honor as the Ring of Honor World Champion. Who would have known that Tony Khan knew how to do that? I didn't know he knew how to do that. But very excited for this. Again, I know I mentioned before I would like to see more of a separation, but we're not going to get it. So we're getting Rush and Dralistico, and I'm excited about that because Dralistico is somebody, especially from LFI, that we rarely get to see have singles matches. So I love for him to, be able to put out there what he's able to do.
Yes, this would be a match of the night contender here on Collision, so get your popcorn ready. Should be a dang good match. Now, the other match that could really be the match of the night, we're getting Stroh Strickland versus Blake Christian. Oh my freaking word.
Blake Christian having some high key matches here. Kenny Omega, now Swerve Strickland. If that doesn't tell you, I think, how they feel about Blake Christian, I don't know what will, because he's been featured very heavily and been put in some prominent positions already.
I gotta say, he's one of the best heels in AEW, and I mean, like, he is a throwback to a 1980s style heel, and I loved his presentation. Should be a great match and a win for the future AEW World Champion, Swerve Strickland, unless Samoa Joe has something to say about that.
They seem to have some looks at each other, during that in ring scuffle earlier in the night.
Just a little bit. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's our news segment on here on the Dynamite Drop. We call this the final countdown, as we give you our quick thoughts on the questions that have come up for us. And actually, there's no better place to start than we know probably the main event or the semi-main event of AEW All in Texas, as it's going to be Mone versus Hayter. My question to you: who's winning this damn match?
That's a tough one. I think Jamie wins. I don't want to have Jamie lose this, and I think you have given Mercedes quite a lot. I think her missing out on the Owen is certainly not going to hurt her.
I feel like she's already got the biggest win in this tournament by defeating the Minion Overlord, the forever ROH Women's World Champion, Athena. So I'm kind of going with you. I'm going to say Hayter wins this because I feel like we're going back to revisit Hayter versus Timeless Tony Storm. This time, maybe it's just a little bit twist on it, and maybe Jamie Hayter beats Timeless again, and it ends the Timeless reign, and we have something else for Tony Storm to do. Or maybe Hayter suffers another loss to the Timeless one.
And believe me, that Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm match from a few years ago is just genuinely one of the best women's matches AEW has put on to date. So to revisit that, yes, please.
Now, if you missed Monday Night Raw, first of all, go over to Draw Sauce Raw, Randy C, Eric B, check out the podcast, catch up real fast. But the question we have for you guys, how badly did AEW drop the ball on Miro? Because Rusev came back on Raw. What the hell?
I don't know. I It's tough because I don't necessarily understand what the issue was with why he wasn't appearing on TV. I mean, we know now that there was obviously some, personal stuff going on with him, and CJ Perry ended up, divorcing and not being together. So obviously he had stuff going on, and I don't know if it was all wrestling related. I don't know if it was he was unhappy. There's always rumors about how he didn't want to take losses, which I can understand, but it's part of the job. It's tough, and we'll see where he goes in WWE and how he's used, and hopefully they could see, at least with what he did in AEW, was very good and was phenomenal. And I hope that WWE will see that and kind of trust him maybe a little bit to work with them and come up with a character that they are both happy with, because we knew when he left prior, he was unhappy.
I gotta say, AEW debuted Miro as the best man in a mid-card faction. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? This is freaking Miro. I feel like he should be upper mid-card main event dude. He should have been an AEW world champion before he left for the WWE. The Redeemer character that he had was damn freaking good. I love that character. I hope his run in WWE is kind of like that Redeemer character, just twist and turn a little bit for the WWE audience. That'd be kind of cool. But we want to wish Miro / Rusev all the best in the future because dude's back on TV. He's out going to hurt some people.
Yeah, and like I said, like we were just saying, like especially like I do hope they see that character was very good, and you could continue on to something with it, and trust him to go out there and cut these promos that are phenomenal to go out there and have a good match. Give him a little bit of leeway. You've seen what he can do, kind of away from your system, and how popular it was.
Well, our next question for you, my friend. We're going to try to figure out who's going to win this elimination match on Collision because Queen Aminata answered the challenge. We're trying to figure out if she's going to be successful and get a future AEW Women's World title shot. Do you believe our queen will get a title shot?
I don't think it's going to happen here. I don't think it'll be. She's going to have a damn good showing for sure, but I believe they're teasing her for something else on Ring of Honor. And I think that's kind of going to be more her destiny. So I think she's just kind of maybe here to reestablish herself on TV and to have a damn good match with Tony.
Okay, so I'm hoping that Queen Aminata wins this eliminator match and then goes down the road to get this AEW Women's World title shot. And yes, she's going to have two damn good showings against Toni Storm. She may not get the title, but like you said, her destiny may be on Ring of Honor. So we'll have to wait and see. So we're moving on to another who wins kind of question as we're trying to predict the future here. Next week on Dynamite, we get Kyle Fletcher versus Heyman Adam Page. Who advances in the Owen Hart men's tournament to face Will freaking Ospreay?
Sign me up. I've been waiting for this match.
Okay, I've been on the bandwagon that we're going to get Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay number 3. So, Ashley, I'm sticking to my guns, bang, bang, and say Kyle Fletcher is going to beat the Hangman simply because it's one Hangman versus the whole freaking Don Callis family.
And we know Don. Don will get into this.
Trust me, Ashley, Don Callis is on the phone right now to add another member to that name group.
I do think Kyle Fletcher will win because, kind of like I mentioned about Queen Aminata, I don't think the Owen is like Hangman's, like his destiny right now. I think he's gonna move on to, whatever he's got going, whatever's happening here with the Bucks, Kenny, Swerve, everything that's going on over here. I think that's where his attention is going to be. I don't think that puts him in the finals of the Owen.
See, I agree with you. His future, Ashley, is that All In Texas. He's going to be that reluctant 5th member of Team AEW, and he's going to have a bite his tongue and just team up with, oh my freaking word, Swerve Strickland. He's going to have a team up with Swerve Strickland to save AEW from the Elite Death Riders.
And honestly, I'm here for it. Like, if they go that route, I'm happy. If they do surprise us and have him go into the finals of the Owen, you can't be mad about getting Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay. I unfortunately don't think it's in the cards for the Cowboy.
Well, we'll have to see. So we're down to the final question here on the final countdown on the Dynamite drop. And it leads to something we saw on Dynamite, my friend. Do you believe that MJF ever got that car back, or did Bob drive it home, or did he drive it into the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico?
He absolutely did not get that car back, and he is absolutely not getting that car back. He is carless. Unless he decides to report it, in which he, I think, put out on Twitter something along the lines of like, "Oh no, I enjoy the car for the night, Bob." Like, don't worry about it. I won't, call it in. So I don't think MJF's getting his car back at all.
Okay. So my second question for you: when Bob brings this back, does Bob bring it back with a full tank of gas, or does he leave it wherever he has it at? That's the next question.
He leaves it on whatever it's at. He ain't putting no gas in there.
I bet you he leaves it at the end of MJF's driveway, so MJF has to push it up the driveway himself.
He's nice enough to just have AAA like tow it to MJF's house.
Exactly. But not into the driveway, like right at the start of it.
Yeah, nope, just on the outside of it. Nope.
I mean, come on. Bob's not going to chip in the extra $50 for the last 50 feet. No.
Right, it is expensive.
Things you learn here on a Dynamite Drop, my friends. Things you learn here right on a Dynamite Drop. Ashley, where can I find you on the super information, super highway?
I'm on Blue Sky, and it's at groovyash.bsky.social.
And of course, you can follow this show on Twitter, Instagram, and in the future on YouTube at The Dynamite Drop. So until we see you next time, guns up, have a great weekend of professional wrestling. Top podcasters out.